Today, we're going to be talking about how to calculate your longevity, if that's even possible. We're here today with the author of Keep Your Life, Garth Hassel, and creating your end game so that your loved ones stay loved ones. We're talking about chapter 7 today, underestimating future shock. I like this quote you start the chapter out with. Neither a wise man nor a brave man lies down on the tracks of history to wait for the train of the future to run over them. Who's that by?
Dwight D. Eisenhower.
That's it. So, is it even possible to calculate longevity, Garth?
Well, the Social Security Administration has a lifespan calculator on its website. And I prefer to call it an estimator, because even if it were true, would you really want to know the date that you're going to die? If it's going to be March 29th, 2027, how are you going to feel on the 26th of March in 2027? That would be a pretty uncomfortable day for most people. So it's more of recognizing the mega trend that people are living longer, but I also pose the question of not just can you estimate your longevity by looking at family factors and use a Social Security estimator, that's fine, but also what's the quality of life outlook for those longer years? You might live longer, but will you live better? Some people, yes, medical advances are going to cure some diseases or improve experiences, adaptability for mobility, for example. There's new ways to help people walk when they can't walk and all that sort of thing. Wonderful. But there's also a cost with those technological advantages that will improve your lifestyle. Will you be able to afford those? So once again, there's no pat answer, and one direction leads to another consequence. If it's something that's going to improve my life, it probably has a cost. Will I be able to afford it?
Yeah, it seems so true also in the health industry. We were told at one point in time, sugar's bad, and then now the replacement synthetic sugars are worse than sugar, and there's so many things like that. Fat being bad, fat-free being good, and now we're finding out that may not be the case either. It's interesting. There's always a pro. For every pro, there's always a con, right?
Yep.
And for all of the trends, what are some of the other trends that you think may play into longevity?
Well, as we get older and go from our go-go years to our slow and no-go years, we're going to need help. It's just a fact of life. And I refer to the fact that McDonald's can't hire people to flip burgers anymore. You used to hear all this talk about minimum wage. No one talks about it anymore. It's a non-issue, because at twice the minimum wage, they still can't find the people to work the jobs. And if McDonald's can't fill positions, who's to say that these caregiver organizations or retirement living places will be able to hire the help they need? And another mega trend goes along the lines with these bleeping devices.
Mm-hmm.
Where is the attention being directed more and more by younger and younger people? My observation is, and it might be different from yours, that a lot of people are walking around like this instead of their head up, paying attention to what's going on around them. Well, if they're supposed to be taking care of you looking at this, I don't know. That's a factor to consider.
That's a great point. Even a friend of mine who's avid cyclist, and he had a career-ending accident because somebody was looking down at their phone and they just creeped over 18 inches into that bike lane, hit the back of his tire, and ended his cycling career. So luckily he lived, but that's all it takes. One little mistake, and those things do affect. I think of something else also, simple things like what's happening with the opioid crisis. And it's not even opioid, it's fentanyl now. and now fentanyl. Did anybody ever think that drugs would become the #1 cause of death between 21 and 45? I mean, nobody would have ever imagined that if you would have said that a decade ago. So yeah, there is so many different factors that can either be a pro, be a con, but the bottom line is plan and prepare, right? I mean, that's what we do, and by law we're required to do it for auto insurance. We're required to do it if we own a home. So I think there's a lot to be said that we also need to plan against this risk of longevity, because it's not so much about our longevity as it is the people we leave behind, right?
Exactly. And kind of related to what you just said about the drug epidemic, and this is just one of many factors, but there's always been tragedies that happen with young parents that their parents, the grandparents, step in to take care of the children. But with like the drug epidemic and other things going on, that's really exploding. So there are a lot more people stepping into the plan B shoes that don't have their own plan B, that they're now plan A. And what do you do when you were thinking you're going to be traveling the globe and all that sort of thing? Now you're taking care of a young life that depends on you for the next 10, 20 years. All those reasons that the guru said you wouldn't need life insurance, for example, they're back. And there's so much more to it than that. But it makes so much more complicated the planning when you have a lot of kids, for example, and see some of them struggling and they have kids, and who's going to step in and take care of them? What does that mean for you if you're the ones that do that?
Yeah, it's interesting. I saw a statistic the other day that auto insurance, well, it's homeowners insurance, 8% of Americans will need their homeowners insurance at one point in time. 25% of Americans who have auto insurance will need it at some point in time. And end of life insurance, whether it's your long-term care, life insurance, any of that, maybe even self-funded insurance, whatever it is that you've set aside, 75% of people will need either end of life care or care afterwards in the form of life insurance to be able to take care of those who are left behind. 75%. It blows my mind. And yet it's not required, it's optional, and it's the one that's going to affect our loved ones the most. And so you bring up such a great point for those people who do that family is the highest priority, their spouse is the highest priority in their life. Well, then I encourage you to really take a deeper dive and check out the chapter that Garth wrote about all the different possibilities. And I think it helped you understand the value of doing some planning in regards to the risk factors that 75% of us, well, and when you talk about end of life, that's 100% of us, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's only two certain things, death and taxes, right? So why not plan for them? So I really appreciate you taking the time to write such an insightful, but simplified book that's very relatable and helps people understand how they can protect their family in a greater way. If you'd like to download the chapter that we're talking about today, you can click on the link below. If you'd like the entire book, you can go to Amazon, search Garth Hassel, and you can purchase it there. But more importantly, I think everybody should take 15 minutes and share your story with Garth, because there are some really insightful resources that he can connect you up with that really will take the difficulty out of planning, simplify it, make it really easy. And if your loved ones, you want them to remain loved ones, it's probably something we all ought to do. So Garth, thank you so much for joining us today. Can't wait to talk about the next chapter next week.
Looking forward to it, Rob. Thank you.